Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Be That Lawyer podcast. I am Steve Fretzen, your host. Doing this over 5 years, over, 520 episodes or something like that. And, this show is really all about you, the lawyer, and living your best lawyer life and just how do you make it and be successful, have a great mindset, get the free time, build a business, whether you're a solo or small firm or big firm, doesn't matter. It's all you, Inc. You need to do for you and take care of your clients and all the people around you. And this show covers a lot of that ground. And if you want to get it all in one place, you can also go to Amazon, grab Be That Lawyer, 101 Top Rainmaker Secrets to Growing a Successful Law Practice. Almost lost I think I had to squeeze too many words into that sentence. It was a long run on there, David, and I lost my breath. Anyway, grab the book on Amazon. I've got over 50 5-star reviews. I know you'll love it. And again, if you love the show, you're going to love the book. All right. I'm exhausted already, Dave. We haven't even started. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. You earned the break. That was a really good intro.
I was so happy to be on your show, and then of course we had to do the pod swap. You can't. I don't ever feel right doing someone's show and then not offering to have them on. And by the way, I was super excited to have you on, and I am. So I know we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna help a lot of people today. So thanks for being here.
It's so funny. I just learned the term pod swap because we were talking. I was out with Matthew Kurbis, and I was saying I was going to be on your podcast. I was like, "Oh, you guys are doing a pod swap." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Going in his podcast." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's what we're doing." So I will continue to try to do more pod swaps. So
yes, I do a great pod, and then also the other one that I didn't come up with this, but I'll take credit for it, is a blogcast. What's a blogcast? Well, it's the truncated version it's the transcript brought into and created into an article. And so that's a sort of a made up term for a blog. That's a blogcast. So there's another one for you. You got two today.
I'll share one with you at the end.
Yes.
At the end, I'm going to share something with you. Cool.
Guys, you got to stay with us to the end so you can hear what David's going to share with me. All right. So let's talk about your quote of the show. I'm very optimistic. People sometimes think I'm too optimistic and annoyingly so, but but I am also a curmudgeon. I don't know. That's how that plays in. So I'm like an optimistic curmudgeon. That's a term I've used for myself. That's my old Jewish self, I guess, in some way. All right, here we go. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. So thanks for being here, and tell us a little bit about that quote.
So that quote is from Helen Keller. And
now, wait a second. You need to say who Helen Keller is, because anyone under 30 may not even know who that is.
Fair enough. Helen Keller was blind and deaf.
Yeah.
And accomplished so much in her life. And that is a quote that represents how she was able to accomplish so much, being both blind and deaf throughout her life.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I just assume everybody knows who she is at this point. And I'm going to be honest, that quote is something actually my dad was one of his 3 quotes. And when he would say it, when somebody says it so much, it actually seeps into what you do. And I got to tell you, he would say that throughout, when I was in college and in law school, he would say it all the time. And I would hear it and go in one ear and out the other. It wasn't until I was in entrepreneurship and I was building Lawline, and we'd go through challenge after challenge, roadblock after roadblock. I actually listened to it and looked at it and dissected it. And because one of the reasons is I'm not very religious, right? It's not something there. And when optimism is a faith that leads to achievement. Faith, like when people say, does God exist? There is no yes or no. There's only a faith that God exists. And so it hit me when I was dealing with the most challenging one. I can pick a dozen challenging situations, but in one situation, we had to fire somebody, I wasn't sure if we should do it. I was like, well, I don't know if this is right or wrong. I'm like, I don't know. It's faith. And if I have faith in what I'm going to do, I have to be as faithful and being optimistic as somebody believes in God. And that to me was like, holy smokes, now I get it. And then without hope and confidence, nothing gets accomplished. And I'm telling you, I heard that for 5 years before I actually heard it.
Yeah.
So I hope somebody listening to this doesn't have to go 5 years of hearing it all the time and actually understanding how it applies.
Yeah. I mean, like the greatest accomplishment in my life so far has been when I hear my son say something that I've said to him that many times and that it actually did seep through, because mostly it just seems like in the ear out the other. And I was the same way, right? I mean, my father was all about, accomplishment and doing, he grew up in the projects. They had nothing. They had to play softball because nobody could afford a mitt. That's how poor they were. And when you achieve from that type and level of poverty and accomplish like my father did, I mean, there's a lot of lessons that you want your teenage son to take in. And so anyway, I'm not joking about my greatest accomplishment, but it is something that I do a double take when he says something that I've said to him, and I go, oh shit, he was listening.
Well, I'll tell you this, so much with, I have 16-year-old and 11-year-old boys and a 16-year-old girl, and I don't think they're listening to anything I say. And then every so often they'll say something, I'm like, oh, they are listening.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, it's happening. It's like a squirrel in the back of their head rattling around or something. Well, listen, everybody, David Schnurman is my newest friend. We've known each other a number of years, but I think, we've really kind of come into really getting to know each other through the pot swap and all that. And you're the CEO of Lawline. You're the author of Fast Forward Mindset. And give everybody a little bit of an opening as to how you came to be and in accomplishing so much.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's been my aspiration since I was in high school. Or even in middle school, I would go into the Staples and I would take a cart and I would put like a safe, a notepad, all these different things. I would pretend like I had my own business. I would put them in a cart and then I would just walk out. And that was like, it was so weird, but like I felt so good doing that.
Yeah.
And then I would read Entrepreneur magazine in college, the magazine, and in the back of the Entrepreneur magazine, it was all like the franchises you can buy and all different business ideas. And then I moved on to business book and self-improvement books. And I call myself a Shah, a self-help addict.
Yeah.
And as a Shah, I just kept going and going. And so I ended up thinking I was going to graduate college and make $1 million from entrepreneurship. And my first job was $27,000 as a sales assistant. 5 years later, I was still doing sales and moved up to sales. Then my third company, I realized, and then maybe it was like, I don't know, 4 companies. I'm like, oh man, I started talking to people who are like 15 years past me, and there was their 10th sales job. My dad was an attorney, came from nothing. He always wanted me to attorney. I never wanted to do it. As a result, I realized at that time, maybe entrepreneurship wasn't for me, and being an attorney for the next 20 years of my life made more sense than 20 years of sales roles. So that's why I went to law school. In law school, I actually started a public access TV show my second year, interviewing entrepreneurs. And my dad earlier in 1999 had started Lawline as when CLE became mandatory, but had stopped it 2 years later because of the dot-com crash, and just he was ahead of his time. And I just had this aha moment my third year of law school. Instead of interviewing entrepreneurs, why don't I interview attorneys? Why don't I take the name Lawline, turn those into CLE courses, and start selling on-demand CLE courses my third year of law school?
Wow,
and
amazing.
Since that time, we've served, that was 17 years ago, we just had our 10 millionth course completed on our website.
That's insane. That is so great. It's, it's so funny. Our backgrounds are so similar. And I don't know what it is about having a lawyer father, but I mean, and then the one, like both of them came from nothing. And, I think for me, it was appreciating the money and just, remember like asking my dad, Larry the lawyer, for money. I might as well just want to poke my eyes out with a scissors. Like it was to that point. He just saw money so differently than anyone else. So I was like, well, if I mowed the lawn, can you pay me? He's like, yeah, if you mow the lawn, I'll give you $4 or I'll give you $3. I'm like, great, I'll take me an hour and a half. And then, it's just like, what else could I do to make money so I never have to go back to this guy and say, I want money for McDonald's or I want money for a new pair. I mean, even like shoes, like I had to I was buying my own shoes because the shoes that he would get me would be, $2 and I wanted $20 shoes or Pumas or whatever they were at the time. Is that your experience or different? Hey everybody, do you ever wonder why top executives and athletes are so successful? It's typically because they have a coach, someone that is looking at them from the outside to identify their gaps, identify their potential. That's what I do. I'm Steve Fretzen, and I'm here to help you be that lawyer. If you're interested in a free consultation, click the link below and we'll get together and we'll identify where you can make improvements to be that lawyer.
Similar, but a little different.
Okay.
Similar in that in my dad's eyes, being spoiled was the worst thing in the world. And he, when I was growing up, he had some success, but his life history was you have to have nothing in order to understand what it is to be successful. And so it was always the joke where my friends, I wouldn't even have like enough allowance or things like there was the joke that like, why does Dave not have enough to do any of this stuff?
Yeah.
And so it really did teach. So I never asked for anything, never expected anything. However, there is one big difference, and I am super thankful and grateful for it. While when it came to and I got a job at the Gap, I was working at the Gap. I was working at all these different, like, as I count all these different things just to pay my own way. To your point, yep. I worked at the Department of Corrections. I worked at different places as a part-time employee. The one area where they did invest in me, and I'm super grateful for it, is in my education.
Yeah. Because they saw value in that, right? They didn't see value in the BS that we were trying to buy to keep up with our friends, but they saw value in education.
Like when I say my dad had nothing, his dad died when he was 7. He was the first one to go to college. When he went to law school, he barely made it in. He drove a taxi throughout law school.
Wow.
So it's education transformed his life. It's interesting when I think about my kids and the future generations, how educational institutions, what kind of value they have for our kids compared to what they did for us. And it is changing.
Yeah.
And the cost is
insane.
Outpaced inflation significantly. So
yeah.
it's
I mean, I've got my son's, set up. I got him set up for the 529 and everything, and he's all set to go to Colorado State in the fall and all that.
Fantastic.
Now the concern I have of like, is he going to do well and be successful and all this, and what major? Like now it's all like, what jobs are going to be around in 4 years? Like now that my whole mind is flipped around. Like, so great, he becomes a lawyer, or he becomes a consultant, or he gets into accounting, and like those jobs, are they around in 4 years? Like that's now this new concern that I have where, I think plumbers and electricians, and now they sort of have a far better hand potentially to be dealt because, they're using their hands and their brains at the same time.
Well, there's no question. There's more, in my opinion, for most of the population, trade school is more valuable, especially plumbers and electricians. Like you can't, AI, at least today, cannot recreate that.
Yeah.
I struggle with the value of a 4-year liberal arts degree for, at a private school that cost, before scholarships or anything like that, all in $90,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, all right, we could spend the rest of our time having this conversation, but I would be remiss if I didn't hit you up on getting some understanding about mindset and lawyers' mindsets. And when you interview, you meet, you CLE, and there's a challenge with lawyers having an optimistic and positive mindset. And I'm curious if you have any insights as to why that is.
Fuck, it's not.
And where do you want to start? Like,
I was gonna say it is definitely not. There's no difference between mindset and lawyers and mindset and
okay. Well, this show is for lawyers, so I was trying to be specific.
But I just want look.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, there's
I'll say this.
Pressure.
Yes, lawyers are people first, and that's I just want to set that tone.
Yeah,
because I think it is important. I think what's interesting about lawyers, they have self-selected them and gone through at least 4 years additional education, at least past the bar. And so the level of dedication and commitment they've made, there is a higher stress level of being successful. And so, and large amount of loans and large amount of stress to do that. So certainly you don't want to fail. And the reason I hate to go this route, because the cliche is like lawyers are taught that you have to be careful and you can't take risks and all that stuff. That is true, but I would just say as somebody who's gone to law school, the fear of failure is so real once you graduate for so many different reasons. And for me, and imposter syndrome and all that, like 97% of people I've ever spoken from, and I said, do you have imposter syndrome? They raised their hand almost at 100%. And so
and some of them were imposters.
100%. No, but seriously, when I was growing the business, and even today, I was dealing with so much challenges going from zero revenue to growing the business. And I was just like, why is this so hard? Why can't I do this? And I was like stuck in what I did. And what I started doing, luckily I journal every day. And one day I printed out 1,000 pages of journals. And this is before AI. And I went through every journal to find the themes of what I was doing. And I took I have a stack of like 50 self-help books, all my journals, and I have 3 coaches. And I'm like, what is the themes of what's going on here? And that's where I started realizing the same things that I was feeling, lawyers feel, everyone feels. And, it's the most talked about thing is how to be more fearless and focused, to get out of your comfort zone and stay out of there longer. And there's books that are 1,000 pages. There's books that are 500 pages. Everyone talks about it. I wanted to share it in a simplified way so that others can follow it. And by the way, the first public speaking event I did was in front of 500 attorneys at the Clio conference. And afterwards, I'd say at least 30 to 40 of them came up to me and said that was the most impactful thing that they had at the conference because they want to use it in their practice.
Yeah. And I don't know that we can be successful or accomplish things or grow a book of business or grow a business or live a great life without having that sort of fast forward mindset or having a mindset of success and abundance. And how do people transition from being negative or having fear or just like worrying all the time and feeling stressed out to that open place of what the future could be?
There's so many different techniques. Well,
give like 2 or 3 suggestions.
Totally. So yeah. I'm gonna share 5 things that I do that so the most important thing you need to do is take action, get out of your comfort zone. Let's assume, and there's 10 things you can do there, but I'm not going to go there right now.
Okay.
Let's assume you've taken action, you've got out of your comfort zone, because we all can do that to some degree without plan, and we get there. But once we're out, we're like, oh my God, what do I do? And so there's 5 things that I do that it's backed up by research and so many things. And these are all probably cliches that you've heard before, but they're cliches because they're true. So one of the first things that I started doing was, okay, I'm stressed out right now. How do I relieve the stress? Okay. So first, there's the basics is you write 3 things you're grateful for. I started 10 years ago, a group on Facebook called 90 Days to Gratitude. It was a challenge to be gratitude for 90 days in a row. We had 5,000 people join it. 10 years later, there's still people doing their gratitude every single day.
Yeah.
And when you can't, it's hard to be grateful and stressed at the same time. You can't smile and frown at the same time. Second thing, this is a little bit harder, but like, don't complain. There's another book called A Complaint-Free World. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So they had a challenge doing 21 days complaint free.
Wow.
You can't complain for 21 days. You can in your head, you just can't do it outward.
Okay.
I tried it.
What are my wife and I going to talk about?
Well, you don't realize until you start doing it, the weather, the traffic, whatever. As soon as you complain, the challenge starts all over. Yeah. Usually it takes somebody 7 months to get through the challenge.
You have to start over.
I only got through 2 months, but here's what I can tell you.
That's amazing.
Maybe it wasn't even, but I can tell you, even getting through a week, people look at you differently when you complain less and you feel differently about yourself. Just getting that far, like 7 days or whatever it was over the 2 months, I completely transformed my thinking. And then the last thing I'll share, because there's not enough time to share them all. And this is a good one. Have you ever heard of the book, How Full Is Your Bucket?
No. How full is your bucket? Okay.
It's such a good book. It was meant as a children's book, but then they adopted it for adults. And let me ask you, what do you think is the best way to fill your bucket?
What is the best way to fill my bucket? Is this referencing like the rocks and the pebbles and the sand and the water? Is that where we're going with this? Like take care of the big things first?
No.
That's a different analogy.
This is like, how to
Fill
give
my
yourself
bucket.
energy.
I mean, it's going
How
to
to give yourself
be
energy, positive energy.
okay. It's going to be, love, putting love out there, time with family, health and wellness. Like taking care of my clients, like making sure other people are successful.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
how do I help others?
you're a pro, Steve. Okay. And you're a pro.
Okay.
Most people, the first thing they start thinking about is like, okay, I have to be positive for myself and I have to take action and I have to and I have to be fearless and I have to do all these things. And the best way to fill your bucket, you're absolutely 100% right, is to fill somebody else's bucket. Because for example, like you're a great podcaster, Steve. Like you're great. You understand it. The 2 seconds, the half a second before I complimented you, in my mind, I felt good because I knew you were going to feel good. And so it's the simplest thing. When you compliment somebody else and it's authentic, it helps you get through the stress of the wave. And when you do those 3 things, when you're stressful, you will feel better afterwards. Here's a really good exercise. You can take 5 pennies, put them in your left side of your pocket. By the end of the day, you have to do 5 compliments, and then you got to put them in your right side of the pocket. When you're complimenting that person, you're doing it just for the exercise, and you see how good they feel.
Mm-hmm.
You feel amazing by the end of the day. Yeah. And the stress that you're feeling from getting out of your comfort zone is a little bit less.
If you're a rainmaker and you're feeling like you're on an island, you don't have anyone to share your ideas with, solve problems with, you're going to want to check out my Rainmaker Roundtables. Click the link below and learn more. And I'll say this, no joke, and we're back to the dads again. Getting a compliment out of Larry the lawyer, it was like pulling teeth. It was always criticism. It was never compliment. And so I kind of have that in me. And so I had to really work and think about it and like, how do I, I need to compliment my wife on, every dinner she makes. I compliment her, and I'm not being, I'm not, bull crapping or shitting or whatever we want to say, but like, this was a delicious dinner and thank you. And you're amazing. And that's not natural for me. I had to work on myself to do that. I love the 5 pennies. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I just read it in a book, right? But
all right, but it's sharing it and getting it out there with I'm a sharer, people.
And I gotta give my dad credit. As you can see from that quote, he is an optimist. He's turning 80 next month.
Wow.
And he always gave positive reinforcement to me and my sister. And there's nothing, as you know, because you didn't get it as much, there's nothing better than your parents believing in you, giving you compliments, having your back regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
And to some degree, because his dad died when he was 7, it was a broken home and it was just him and his mom. His other older siblings had left. She called him, his name is Alan. She called him my Alan because she would talk about him so much. My Alan this, my Alan that. And he always said he became who he was because she had such confidence in him. And so I'm constantly trying to reinforce that, even though I'm a parent of teenagers now who sometimes I push back too hard. I'm so proud of them. They're all 3. And in my 11-year, I'm so proud of what they do. And I try to tell them as much as possible.
Yeah. My son is playing Summerfest, which is like the biggest Wisconsin music festival in, in the year. And he's going to be up on stage playing electric guitar in front of, hundreds, awesome. Maybe thousands of people, whatever. And I'm over there. I can't wait to get out there and see him on stage and just, rocking. And he's got the long hair and he's playing up the role and he's on stage with a presence. And man, just nothing makes me prouder. I mean, we all have those proud papa moments, but watching him progress and thrive and with music, which is something I've always loved since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the fact that he loves the music that I made him listen to, like 80s rock, Journey, Foreigner, and getting into Metallica and all that really cool rock stuff. And that's what he loves to play. It just fills me up.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good. So let's give one more tip before we wrap up the show. What's one other thing that really helps attorneys who are maybe struggling with either bad things or just a bad thing that happened? How do they kind of, get past it?
One of the most important things you can do when something happens, and this goes back thousands of years. It's related to Stoicism. It's related to Buddhism. Is not label a situation as good or bad after it happens. It's too easy to think that you made, like you said, like you made a mistake, and maybe we're going to talk about that at the end, and say, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. And we label things, I think, 10 times more bad than we label it good.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you label it bad, you experience it as bad. And we all know the hero's journey, the true Hollywood story back in the days where it's like great, then gets really bad, then gets even better. It's not over until it's over. And we have both, I'm sure, seen that so many times in our lives.
Oh yeah.
When you think something's bad, it actually is the best thing that happened to you. And so that's what I would just say is do not, there's a phrase, good thing, bad thing, who knows? And I use that when something has happened out of my control. And I use that when I'm trying to make a tough decision. And I don't know if it's the right decision or the wrong decision. I literally say, good thing, bad thing, who knows? And I use that to give me the confidence to either make the decision or to realize that, okay, that wasn't the result I expected, but it doesn't necessarily make it a bad result.
Well, one of the reasons that they tell us as parents not to, bulldozer our kids, right, and just plow ahead for them and do everything for them is because they need the challenge and they need the difficulties and to fail. Like I had a life full of failure and hardship and difficulty, not as much as somebody, in Africa starving to death, but for someone who, growing up in the North Shore of Chicago, bad grades or not, am I going to get into college? Am I going, how am I going to make this work? Bad sales jobs, all that kind of stuff. And I think we need to have those struggles because otherwise, how do we know you have to have the villain. Otherwise, how do you know what's good?
It gives you a good, Kim Addis, who was one of my coaches. She said the bad things that happen or the bad things that go give you contrast to when the good things happen. Yeah. So if you don't have that, you don't have that contrast.
Right.
And imagine everything good. Imagine your life was all good. Everything you did was perfect. It gets kind of boring. I'll just, one real thing on that is I can't tell you how many successful entrepreneurs I know. And I was actually with one yesterday who sold their business, and this person sold their business for a significant amount of money. And after he sold his business and put his money in a fund and they're investing it, he is so depressed right now because he's not sure what to do with what he wants to do. And, it's just interesting. You think what the end result is or where you want to end up. And now he's trying to figure out what that next step is. So the journey, the journey is it's just something important to realize. There is the end of the rainbow where you're thinking doesn't always necessarily get you where you want.
Yeah. And it's not always about money. I mean, I want to have money for a number of reasons. But I know a lot of people that are incredibly wealthy and depressed and unhappy and miserable and all of that. So, all right, let's wrap it up with, David's big mistake. What happened to you? And this is right. I mean, we just kind of set this up perfectly in the last couple minutes.
Lots of mistakes. One that looked like it almost was going to tank the company was when, I don't know, I say 10 years ago, it's probably longer. I keep thinking we're whatever, but let's say over 10 years ago, we built our website originally on what was called back in the day spaghetti code. And that means there was no frameworks, there's no structure. It's like I had one developer, they built this, that. And as we grew pretty quickly, but what happened was every time we tried to update one part of the site, the other part of the site would crash. And we had to make a decision. Either we were just going to keep fixing it on top of it, or we had to build a whole new website. We decided, I got a presentation, we decided to build a whole new website. I was told it would take 6 months. It ended up taking almost a year and a half. Wow. Through that time, every single developer ended up quitting, including the person who was the head of the team and gave me the proposal because it was such a hard project and it was just too much. Yeah. And we had already invested all this time in it. The site was doing terrible. And I just thought you don't have a website, you're not in business. And he was leaving. We went for a walk around the block. And I said to him, look, you leaving now before that you've completed this site you're missing a really key highlight to your career. And I was like, if you could stay 3 more months, which ended up turning to 6 months, but if you can stay 3 more months, it's not a lot for you, but it means everything to Lawline. And it will then be a great thing for your career because you'll finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a deal and he stayed, and it ended up being 6 months, and he did it, and then it worked out. Okay. But if he had left when he said he was going to leave, we were really in a tough pickle.
Yeah, but I think that from what I'm getting from this, the takeaway is, you have to have these tough conversations, and you have to try to, whether it's a partnership or whether it's an employee or whatever, it's like you need to get to some conclusion and figure out how to move things forward. And it sounds like you did that. And without that conversation, he just says, see ya, and leaves you in the lurch. And then what? This is, you're in a different situation.
And it came from trust and respect.
Yeah.
We had a close relationship, but he was just physically and mentally burnt out. He was, at the end of the day, he was trying to protect his own health, which I totally understood.
All right. Well, listen, man, I just sneezed.
Do you want me to share that one tip for you?
Oh yeah. Give the tip and then we'll wrap up.
This is a good tip for you too. I started trying this out, and I'll share the prompt with you because I've done podcasts, and I'm like, how do I get more value out of the podcast? I went to Claude, and I created a prompt that actually created a web page and created an interactive quiz from the transcript that gives a 10-question quiz. And I'll do it for yours, and I'll actually share it with you, of the transcript of what you discussed. And with Claude now, it builds a website. I saw a code in front of me, did the questions, you choose the right answer, it says yes, and it actually publishes the web page. That to me and it took 5 minutes.
Wow.
That would, in the past, you'd have to hire somebody, or you have to look through the whole transcript.
So it's a quiz on what? On what happened? Like, what did you get out of the podcast?
It was like the 10 key points of the podcast.
But it's a quiz, not as, yeah. All right. We'll do that.
No, it's a multiple choice quiz. It's going to blow your, it's a multiple choice quiz. Literally takes 3 minutes.
Oh my God. That's so amazing.
I'm going to send it to you after this.
Okay.
And you can share it on social media.
Yeah, I want everybody quizzed on this. I want you to tell me, answer a question about, my father and how he saw money, or anyway.
But I'll do your podcast with me. You said a lot of good things. So
there we go.
So any attorney can use that in helping themselves learn. And of course, on Lawline, we are always implementing new technologies. This is something we're looking at. We also have an AI assistant and things like that.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, let's take a moment, thank our sponsors. I will be at PimCon in October in Scottsdale, Arizona at the Venetian. Check that out at pimcon.org. Want to check out the Law Her podcast with Sonia Palmer. She's crushing it. And David, people they know about Lawline, but let's give out the digits and tell people to get on it.
Yeah. So obviously lawline.com. We have a year subscription for 20. Now I think there's 2,100 hours of content. Mm-hmm. It's only $299 for the year. We have everything you can need. We have 100 hours of just AI content right now. We have learning tracks, and everything is CLE accredited, approved in every state that it's mandatory. And yeah, we're just happy to help you in your journey of continuing legal education, but most importantly, in your career growth path.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you. Thanks for hanging out and having this, we were kind of not all over the place, but we just covered a lot of ground and on a personal and a business level, and appreciate you doing the pod swap with me. And I just feel like there's a lot more that we can do together. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Me too. Thanks again.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everybody for hanging out with David and I for about 30 minutes or so. I'm not going to go and recap everything we covered, but holy mackerel, a lot of great stuff there, especially about getting your mind in the right place to live your best lawyer's life, which, as you know, is what this show is all about. All right, everybody, take care, be safe, be well. We will talk again very soon. Are you ever curious what's really holding you back in business development? Sometimes it's hard to see the label from the inside of the bottle. I'm Steve Fretzen, and I can help you grow your book of business. Get a 30-minute free consultation with me. We'll identify gaps, identify your potential, and let's take it to the next level so you can be that lawyer. Click the link below for a free consultation.